Well, hello, folks. This is Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and this is ISIS Unveiled, another step into the deep waters of spiritual philosophy and thought. And I know that this may upset some of your tummies, and if you can't take it, that's all right. Go back to the kiddies' table, play some video games, watch some TV, do something that your little pea brains are capable of comprehending and enjoying, because this is for the big dogs. And if you're not a big dog, if you can't run in the tall grass, if you're not a big dog, it's best you just go ahead and stay on the porch. Before we get started, it is Christmas time. It's the 10th of December, and from now through the Christmas day at least, probably just through Christmas Day, I have all of my ebooks on sale for $250, 25, $250, and that's for all the ebooks of all my books. Some of them regular prices are like $12. So grab the ebooks and grab them for just $250 at jeffreydaugherty.com, christianwhistleblower.com. We started yesterday a series on the secret teachings of all ages from Manly P. Hall. Please look for that on the YouTube channel that you're viewing. And please like this video. Please subscribe. We want to push our numbers up so more people see these videos. And as you subscribe, it also keeps you aware and up to date of the newest videos. So let's go right into the ISIS Unveiled. And it's interesting because this book was written in 1877. This book was written in 1877. It was published in 1877. And it's over 100 years, and we still haven't learned the basic spiritual lessons that this book teaches. And I think it's, even though it was written, published in 1877, it's as though it is made for us today. And I think all good writings are that way. And this is from the very beginning of the book. And she talks about, this is Madame Blavatsky of Theosophical fame. She started the Theosophist Society. But she says that what we're looking at in her day, and still in this day, was dogmatic assumptions of modern science and theology. And boy, if that was true in 1877, it's even more true now. And she writes that the ethics of paganism met the wants of the uncultivated people of antiquity, but it wasn't until the advent of the luminous star of Bethlehem that the road to true moral perfection and the way to salvation was made plain. Of old, brutishness was the virtue and the rule, and spirituality the exception. And now the dullest may read the will of God in His revealed word. Men everywhere have every incentive to be good and are constantly becoming better. And then she makes this great statement: this is the assumption. And my goodness, isn't it the assumption? Jeffrey, how can you be a Christian whistleblower? How can you be against Christianity? It's changing things for the better. It's making people want to be good. Oh, no, it's not. It's scaring people because of this place called hell. But at any rate, she says it's an assumption. It's an assumption that Christianity brought us out of the darkness of paganism and now is helping us to constantly become better. She said that's the assumption. But then she asked the question that too few of us have the guts to ask. What are the facts? You know the assumption. The assumption is that Paul gave us the fullness of doctrine. The assumption is you're born with original sin. The assumption is you're going to burn forever in a lake of fire unless you do what they say to do, how they say to do it, when they say to do it, where they say to do it, as long as they say to do it, and exactly the way they say to do it, and give them enough money to stay in their good graces. That's their assumption. And if you do that, then you will either burn for a little while in this place called purgatory or go straight to heaven. But what are the facts? What are the facts? On one hand, she says, an unscriptural, dogmatic, and too often debauched clergy. Now, what is she talking about there? And she's exactly right. An unscriptural, what does she mean? It's unspiritual. Sorry, I thought you said unscriptural. An unspiritual, that's a little bit subjective, but it certainly is my observation that most of the clergy is unspiritual. Dogmatic, they're certainly dogmatic. I mean, it's not just my religion's the only way, but very often my own church is the only way. It's the age of us four and no more. It reminds me of the guy that died, quote unquote, went to heaven, met at the gates by Peter, of course, and he's showing around heaven. Who are those? Oh, those right there. Those are the Baptists. Oh, those are the Methodists. Who are they? Way over there. Shh. That's the Pentecostals. They think they're the only ones here. That's what it's like. And I know that's funny, but that's what it's like. The clergy is unspiritual. The clergy is dogmatic and too often debauched. What's debauched mean? That's things like having sex with children. Debauched is things like preachers having sex with their secretaries, preachers having sex with prostitutes, preachers stealing money, priests screwing little boys, priests stealing money. That's what debauchery is. And we do have a clergy that says, oh, we've got it all together, but the facts are that too often we have an unspiritual, we have a dogmatic, and we have a too often debauched clergy. And we have a host of sects, S-E-C-T-S. There's a host of sects going on too, but we have a host of sects. There's about 400 denominations in the United States, all claiming to be the right one. Really not much more needs to be said. And then Blavatsky writes there's three great warring religions: Islam, Judaism, Christianity. And the funny thing is, they're all Abrahamic religions. Many of the players are the same, but yet they still are warring. Reminds you of Democrats and Republicans a little bit, doesn't it? Because it's the same thing. Politics, religion, very much the same thing. There's dogmas without proofs, obviously. There are sensational loving preachers and wealth and pleasure seeking preachers and parishioners. Hypocrisy, bigotry are the rule of the day. Sincerity and real piety are the exceptions. That's a very succinct characterization of religion today. And she must have been way ahead of the power curve, or it's been that way since 1877, but it's certainly that way in 2016. It's certainly that way in 2016. Let me think of something. 9, 14 and 9 is 23, 5, 7, 9. No. But at any rate, it's certainly a very succinct picture of religiosity today, and it's very striking to see that it was also a picture of religiosity back in 1877. And then on the other hand, she says, scientific hypotheses built on sand, no accord upon a single question, rancors, quarrels, and jealousy, a general drift into materialism, and the death grapple of science with theology for infallibility. A conflict of ages. And we're certainly seeing that today, although maybe we're making a little more advance on this front, because it seems like true science and true theology are starting to merge just a little bit. But then she goes on to talk in 1877, talking about the Pope at that time. I don't know who it was. I should have looked it up. But at Rome, the self-styled seat of Christianity, and of course she doesn't believe it is, the successor to the chair of Peter is undermining social order with his invisible but omnipresent network of bigoted agents, and incites him to revolutionize Europe for his temporal as well as spiritual supremacy. And you can see they're doing the same thing, just maybe in different places. It's in the Middle East this time. Those who call him the Vicar of Christ, he's fraternizing with anti-Christian Muslims, still is, against other Christian nations, publicly invoking the blessings of God upon the arms of those who have for centuries withstood with fire and sword. The pretensions of his Christ to godhood. Very, very interesting. And this is interesting to me. And in Berlin, one of the great seats of learning, professors of modern exact sciences, turning their backs on the boasted results of enlightenment of the post-Galilean period, are quietly snuffing out, listen to this is very interesting, they're quietly snuffing out the candle of the great Florentine, seeking, in short, to prove the heliocentric system and even the Earth's rotation, but the dreams of deluded scientists. Newton, a visionary, and all past and present astronomers, but clever calculators of unverifiable problems. Do you see that? In 1877, there was a great movement to prove the flat Earth. There was a great movement against the heliocentric system. There was a great movement against the Earth's rotation, and saying that they are only the dreams of deluded scientists. So it's very interesting that this whole flat Earth, round Earth thing was even a thing back in 1877. But her main point is that between the two conflicting titans of science and theology, there's a bewildered public, fast losing all belief in man's personal immortality and any deity, and rapidly descending to the level of a mere animal existence. Such is the picture of the hour, illumined by the bright noonday sun of Christianity and science. So Blavatsky very, very wisely and really with the voice of a prophet talks about how religion and science have left us with nothing but quarrels, guilt, lack of hope. Some may even would say desperation. And she says that it's time to entirely reject the authority of both of these combatants. Are we not bound rather, she said, to take as the true aphorism of the century, the way we should really do it, the declaration of Horace Greeley: I accept unreservedly the views of no man, living or dead. I accept unreservedly the views of no man, living or dead. Such, at all events, will be our motto, and we mean that principle to be our constant guide throughout this work. We will not accept the words unreservedly of any man or any woman. We are going to use philosophy like Manly P. Hall talked about. We're going to weigh things against one another. We're going to look for the primary and look for the secondary, and we're going to use our own brains. In short, we're going to follow the admonition of Mrs. Blavatsky, and we're going to unindoctrinate ourselves.